Here's going to be your complete guide of the waiver wire in week 7. To be honest with you, a lot of these guys are junk, but there are some few key gems. Now, the players that I think you can go ahead and confidently let go of: Sha Tucker, we talked about him last week as a very easy drop. Still, Tucker is rostered in 31% of leagues at this point, but you had no Adams and you had no Jacoby Myers. And what does that give you? 0 fantasy points with 95 snaps. We talked about this a while for Tucker, but he's not talented enough to be in a horrible offense and be viable in fantasy. I'm sorry, Alec Pierce is also not talented enough to be a consistent option in a low volume passing attack. And we already have word that Anthony Richardson will be playing week 7. I know that you had the 125 receiving yard game off of the 3 targets week 1, but I'm sorry, it's not happening with Pierce. He is rostered in 38% of leagues. I think some of the pickups we have at the end of the video will be better. Darius Slayton, we're going to go ahead and we're going to drop him. I actually was very against starting Slayton in a good matchup this past week. And we honestly get really lucky because Slayton had a big play get called back, but he still gives 11.5 fantasy points. Was a game with 11 targets. So if you started Slayton, I want to give you your props. You made the right call. I did not. But honestly, now much tougher matchups going into the future, while at the same time, Malik Neighbors should be back in. So Slayton, I think you drop. Wan'Dale Robinson, you can hold. Justice Hill will be the next easy drop. Justice Hill was a drop in our video last week. I just want to reiterate, he is still rostered in 44% of leagues. I see no reason to roster him, especially with Keaton Mitchell coming back soon. Juwan Jennings is sadly looking like a drop here as well. With Jennings, he only plays 52% of the snaps this past week. And yeah, since you had Deebo Samuel back in this offense, you've actually only seen 57, 56, and 52% of the snaps. So just too small of a role, even if it is a good offense. And then Jerry Jeudy is somebody that I think you can go ahead and let go of, unless you think you have Jameis very soon in this offense. There's no hope for Jeudy. Back-to-back games with fewer than 10 fantasy points, back-to-back games with only 3 targets, and one of the lowest volume passing attacks in the entire NFL. Trey Sermon is somebody that I think we would hold on to until we get word of Jonathan Taylor. But if JT is coming back, at that point, we can very clearly see that Trey Sermon is not one of the premium handcuff backs that you're willing to hold when the starter in front of him is healthy. At that point, you would go ahead and you would cut Sermon. And I know Goodson had a pretty large role this past week, which actually led to Trey Sermon only seeing 60% of the snaps here in Indy. But the main thing is Sermon's going to have absolutely nothing as a receiver, and he's a very inefficient running back. This past week, only seeing 29 rushing yards off of 18 carries. And then sadly, Jerome Ford is a player that I think you can go ahead and send to the waiver wire now. I know that obviously a lot of people are going to want to hold on to him. He is rostered in about 76% of leagues as it stands today, but ultimately it's a garbage offense. And Nick Chubb has already been reported to be coming back week 7, and Ford is dealing now with a hamstring injury. So Jerome Ford was barely startable while fully healthy with no Nick Chubb. Now that Chubb is back and Ford is injured, I see no path to starting him ever outside of Nick Chubb or to miss time down the line. Now let's move over to the players that we are going to add. Now I completely understand that not every single one of these options is going to be available in your league in particular. So we actually built out a completely free tool over there on flockfantasy.com, where if you play with Sleeper, Yahoo, or ESPN, you're able to go to the My Teams page. You're able to link your team for completely free and use the expert values to filter what the best waiver wire options are going to be based off quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight ends. I'm going to leave a link down in the description as well as the comment section. But honestly, I think it's going to be a way better tool for you to make your waiver wire plans every single week in comparison to trying to use the ESPN projections or the Yahoo projections that really have players in kind of a random order. But anyway, Juju Smith-Schuster will probably be my top pickup this week. Now, of course, if your league mates know what they're doing, it will be tougher to pick him up because he was probably picked up last week. But still, you actually only have Juju Smith-Schuster rostered in 33% of leagues right now. If we go back to what we had against the New Orleans Saints last Monday night, Juju Smith-Schuster had 130 receiving yards. Now, if you go over to flockfantasy.com, you will see that Juju's not ranked as a top 36 wide receiver for me rest of season. And in our rankings on this channel, I probably won't have Juju anywhere close to inside the top 24 just yet. That's because if you look at the larger sample of Juju SmithSchuster games, you actually see that we went years without Juju being viable in fantasy, even in this Chiefs offense. I mean, actually, the last time we had a game with 130 receiving yards for Juju was back in 2018. Yes, his second season in his NFL career. Crazy to think of. I still think you roster him and potentially look to play him if we get another strong performance. And that is definitely in the range of outcomes here. Now, Caleb Williams will be somebody that I think is the top quarterback streamer alongside Justin Fields. Really, Caleb Fields would be both of the guys that you're looking at for this week. Caleb, back-to-back weeks here with over 20 fantasy points. And what's actually really encouraging is you're seeing Caleb Williams run the ball a little bit more as well. Over the past 2 weeks, Caleb Williams is averaging about 45 rushing yards per game. And on top of this, we've seen the efficiency. Over the past 4 weeks now, Caleb Williams actually has a total of 9 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Since you've had Keenan Allen come back into this offense, it actually looks like it has opened up some things, as well as Rome Odunze getting a little bit healthier. And obviously, we're expecting the rookie to continue to improve. Justin Fields right here with them. These are the best quarterback streamers that you're pretty much going to have. With Fields, you have the tough matchup against the Jets. With Caleb, you have the bye week, week 7. So honestly, you're probably not super excited about these guys this immediate week, but a ton of long-term upside, particularly in a 4-point passing touchdown format. Now, going over to Ray Davis, to be honest with you, I'm recording this at halftime of the Buffalo Bills game, but Ray Davis has looked phenomenal so far. Obviously, James Cook was kind of the surprise inactive, where Adam Schefter, as well as Ian Rappaport, told us that James Cook would be good to go on Saturday. However, that doesn't happen. Ray Davis is the running back that they selected in round 3 of the NFL draft this past year. I mean, I want to stand by him. We had him ranked ahead of Ty Johnson coming into the game. And at the same time, he's looked much better through the first half. I will update you on the live stream tomorrow night. Obviously, we can talk a lot about Ray Davis here, but he looks like he is a premium pickup with usage as a receiver as well as a rusher in one of the league's best offenses. If James Cook were to miss any time, Ray Davis does look like he has serious flex consideration / RB2 appeal. Now, unless you're playing in a deep dynasty format, I know Sha Tucker is out there on the waiver wire. Sha Tucker is currently rostered in 0% of leagues on Sleeper. Now, in reality, it's probably 0.0001%. I actually saw some people in the comment section saying that they picked up Sha Tucker and started him this week. Dear God, please start a YouTube channel so I can copy off you. But nonetheless, with Tucker, you have 17 opportunities in a game with no Rachaad White. He does only play 38% of the snaps. Bucky Irving does look like the quote-unquote RB1 if you're just looking at raw opportunities. Bucky did see 49 snaps in comparison to Sha Tucker at 28, but Sha Tucker did the most with the least here. Sha Tucker had 136 rushing yards off of these 14 carries. He actually had 56 receiving yards off of his 3 targets as well. And to be honest with you, I actually loved Sha Tucker before the NFL draft 2 seasons ago. If you were looking at what you had from his profile, this was a running back that checked almost every single box that you were looking for. I mean, he was coming into the NFL and you were looking at a running back that has the size to be a 3-down option with the BMI over 30. And at the same time, he was a top-end athlete running a 4.44 40-yard dash. And you sprinkle in the fact that at his time at Syracuse, he actually was a really strong receiving option out of the backfield. I mean, I thought that Sha Tucker was a phenomenal prospect. And then he goes undrafted in 2023. And I go, okay, well, we know that NFL teams are smarter than I am. If you're undrafted, you are really just fighting for the roster spot. We don't know if you're guaranteed to see anything. But apparently a year later, we actually get a role for Tucker and he excels in it. Now, going into the future, am I going to have Tucker ahead of Bucky Irving or Rachaad White? No. In reality, I think the largest impact that Sha Tucker has, where we already have this coaching staff saying that Sha Tucker has earned a role in this offense, is he makes both Rachaad White and Bucky Irving less appealing, because now we can say no matter what, this is a running back by committee. Because I thought if Rachaad White got injured, Bucky Irving was going to get almost everything. I thought if Bucky Irving got injured, Rachaad White was going to get almost everything. Well, it appears that this is a 3-man committee rather than a 2-man committee, where honestly, it's going to be very difficult for us to rely on anybody in this offense. Now, Jaylen Warren will be somebody that I want to bring up. Jaylen Warren only rostered in 42% of leagues. I don't blame you for cutting him at all back in week 3 after his injury because he had been extremely disappointing through the first 3 weeks. You were looking at a running back that was averaging about 6 opportunities a game. You have Najee Harris up at about 20 opportunities a game. It has been a massive disparity between the roles of these two backs. Now, I will say if you take a step backwards, Jaylen Warren has been the more efficient running back over Najee Harris for years now. And at the same time, Jaylen Warren does have receiving upside. Now, will Jaylen Warren be startable in any game where Najee Harris is healthy? Probably not, but he should be viewed as one of those premium handcuff backs where if Najee Harris were to go down, then Jaylen Warren is somebody that I'm more likely than not starting. Now, Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs are actually 2 receivers that will replace Dontavian Wicks on your roster. Now, if you have Wicks, I think you could go ahead and cut him if Jaden Reed's ankle looks to be 100%. But anyway, with Watson and Romeo Doubs, clearly both receivers have really nice ceilings weekly, where you can see either guy pop off and possibly give you 20 fantasy points. This week, we get multiple receiving touchdowns from Romeo Doubs. We actually get almost 16 fantasy points with the long reception and touchdown for Christian Watson as well. So looking at these Packers receivers, they are going to be almost every down players with no Dontavian Wicks and what appears to be one of the best offenses in the league. And you sprinkle on the fact that we have seen now that Christian Watson as well as Romeo Doubs have proven over a large sample that they have the talent profile that you are looking for. Now, the hesitation that you would have with these players is it's going to be extremely difficult to actually figure out when you should look to start them. Now, of course, if you are playing in a league that you start multiple flexes, you maybe put 3 wide receivers and 2 flexes out every single week. There, you for sure need to pick up Watson and Doubs ahead of these other running backs. My thing is, I think you could throw Christian Watson in your lineup and get 20 points. I think you could throw Christian Watson in your lineup and get 3 points. So if you're playing in a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format, there I probably would prefer the running backs. I mean, Ty Chandler is a running back that may actually move up the waiver wire priority list dependent on the early practice reports that we get from Aaron Jones. Keep in mind, against the New York Jets, Aaron Jones got injured in London back in week 5. Now, from everything that I've read about this injury, it seems that if Aaron Jones did not have the bye week this week, he would have missed and Ty Chandler would have been the starter. Now, obviously, fortunate timing for Aaron Jones, unfortunate timing for anybody who has Ty Chandler. But regardless, there is the outside chance that Ty Chandler is the starting running back in week 7. Now, my hesitation with this is you're going up against the Detroit Lions, where the Detroit Lions do not allow anybody to be productive at running back. And if you're looking at how inefficient Ty Chandler's been all year off of his workload, it's almost depressing. Week 1, 2.13 yards per carry. Week 2, you get a massive boom. That's great. But then week 3, 1.86 yards per carry. Week 4, 1.67. Week 5, 2.14. He's been an inefficient back. We don't know if Aaron Jones will miss. And at the same time, it's a tough matchup in week 7. So it is hard to be super excited about him. Now, our next priority pickup would be Isaac Guerendo. This will be another situation where it's very important to monitor Jordan Mason in San Francisco. We had Jordan Mason going down with the shoulder injury last Thursday. The initial reports are saying he's good. It's a day-to-day injury, and it's not like you have to worry about Jordan Mason going to the IR. It's not like you have to worry about him missing multiple weeks, but you potentially have to be worried about Jordan Mason maybe just missing this 1 week. Now, similar to Ty Chandler, the issue with Guerendo is you actually have the Niners playing the Kansas City Chiefs in week 7. So in this kind of environment, you should be a little bit concerned that it's a tough matchup where Guerendo, even when you had the injury to Jordan Mason last week, did kind of operate in a running back by committee. Obviously, had the nice long rush to seal the game, but still, it's not like he would be a top 5 running back in our rankings by any stretch of the imagination. If Jordan Mason misses, we probably put Guerendo as an RB2. Now, Kamani Vidal is a running back that obviously scores 13 points, saves a bunch of people that took him in Underdog best ball drafts this offseason. But the reality is he only played 24% of the snaps. While yes, Gus Edwards is on the IR. This is J.K. Dobbins' backfield. So Vidal is not a running back with standalone value. Instead, Vidal is a handcuff to a running back that has a long list of injuries in an offense that we know wants to run the ball over and over and over again. And Vidal is a capable receiving back here as well if the Chargers needed him in that role. Now, Blake Corum will be our next option. With Blake Corum, we actually talked about him last week. Still only rostered in 21% of leagues. I actually put him as a drop early in the year because you were getting usage from Ronnie Rivers instead. But now what you actually see is you see Blake Corum going through in week 5 and actually saying that he is the backup, not Ronnie Rivers. We know Kyren Williams has a long list of injuries. We know that we have seen this Los Angeles Rams offense really want to feature their starting running back. Blake Corum has the size where he can go out there and he can handle a 3-down workload. So no standalone value whatsoever, really just a handcuff if you were to get an injury to a Mr. Kyren Williams. Now, Demario Douglas, yes, he is this far down this list. And yes, Demario Douglas has had 9 targets in 3 of the last 4 games. And to be honest with you, in certain formats where you can start 4 or more wide receivers, I would actually have Demario Douglas much higher on this waiver wire priority. And in a league where you are playing with 14 plus teams, if you're playing in a league where you can start 5 plus receivers, I would want Demario Douglas over all of the handcuff running backs, at least where the starter's not currently injured in front of them. Now, if we're looking at my hesitation in ranking him this low with these waiver wire rankings, is I am obviously reviewing teams in the live stream every single night on this channel. If you don't know, we stream for 5 hours a night. Come out, hang out, it's a ton of fun. At least it's fun for me. But nonetheless, a lot of teams that I look at play in leagues where you only start 2 wide receivers and 1 flex. Especially a lot of people playing in 10-team formats. In that kind of format, for you to go ahead and put Demario Douglas inside your starting lineup, we would have to see some very serious changes in this New England Patriots offense that we have just not had so far. So in a deeper league, Douglas will be a higher priority add, but we're making this video for the shallow formats where instead I would rather have a running back that's an injury away from actually being an immediate projection to have 15 plus fantasy points. Now, a couple interesting defensive streamers. If you needed one, I actually have the Niners defense myself, and I'm considering dropping them against the Chiefs this week for one of these other options. I probably won't, but I'm considering it. The Jags have been one of the worst defenses in the entire NFL. I mean, at least in fantasy, they rank 30th at the moment. It's hideous. But you get to play the New England Patriots, one of the worst offenses in the league. This is your second London game, so we'd assume that the Jags are adjusted where New England isn't. So I'm interested to see how this plays out. The Los Angeles Rams are going up against the Raiders, and the Rams are coming out of a bye week where they get a little bit of time to get healthier. The Rams have also been a garbage defensive option so far this year in fantasy, but it is a great matchup. The Bengals have been a garbage real-life defense. They've been a garbage fantasy defense, but they do get to play the Browns. I want to point that out. The Saints obviously have been a phenomenal defense so far this year. And at the same time, they have a really strong matchup against the Denver Broncos. So the Saints defense will be near the top of my defensive rankings this week. Obviously, Denver will be the number 1 defense in the league this week. But with that being said, I should assume they're rostered in every league. But I think that's all I got for you. I definitely want to remind you, head over to flockfantasy.com, go to the My Teams page. If you play on Sleeper, ESPN, or Yahoo, you can actually link your fantasy football team and you can see exactly who the best waiver wire options are for you for completely free. Plus, you get the free power rankings where you can see everybody's relative strength rest of season in your league as well. So definitely head over there. I'll leave the link in the description as well as the comment section. And I really appreciate you and hope I get to see you out with the video later tonight.